Good morning, Yankee fans. This is the Pitchline Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I am here with Rob and the return of our fallen brother who's been MIA. Donald, how has everything been?
The three amigos are back together. How is everyone in the chat? How are my guys, Rob and Uncle Tats? Good to see you all again. Hopefully I'll be a bit more consistent with being here. So I'll certainly see you guys on Friday and Monday, etc., etc. But as for how I'm doing, well, a lot of it is dependent on how the Yankees are doing, and badly, very, very badly. I don't even know where to start, but this is the worst losing streak since 1982. The worst Yankee losing streak since 1982. That is beyond my lifetime. I was born in 84. Then now we're talking 82. Now the Yankees are making all kinds of history. I don't even know how old Uncle Tats was in 1982. But, I mean, this is unheard of. It's unconscionable. It's absolutely unacceptable. Unbelievable. All the uns in the world. I just... mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. 1982, guys. And, I mean, for anyone who don't know the Yankees' history that well, that was a very low ebb for the franchise back then. 1982 is one of its lowest ever ebbs. Yep. And the 80s was not a good period for the Yankees. And Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone and a little touch of Hal Steinbrenner and Mike Fishman and this organization have conspired to put together one of the worst rosters I have ever seen. And it's almost impossible how bad this team is, considering they still got Aaron Judge to play every other day, and they still can't every day, and they still can't pull out one win by accident. Not even one. It speaks to so much wrong. Everything is wrong with this roster. Everything is wrong with this franchise. Everything is wrong with this management. And we're going to go right to town on it right now.
Yeah, well, before we really start digging in on the game, let's give our roll call. Donald, now that you're back, give us the proper roll call. This is your forte.
Well, I have to give a shout out, first of all, to Joseph Barros. How you doing? Good morning, guys. Great to see you guys. Great to see you, too. How you doing? Medina, how you doing? I was 11 years old the last time the Yankees had a 9-game losing streak. I was -2 years old. I just have this terrible feeling that Hal is going to run it back with Boone and Cashman. Please don't say that, Damien, please. But Damien, it's great to see you. Thank you so much, Damien. Thanks, Don. Welcome back. That's very kind of you. Thank you, my guy. Looking forward to getting moving in the chat here. Will, sup, Will, what up? NFE, what is up? Good morning, NFE. Always loyal, always here, on time, ready to rock. Dev Finch, saying hello to Rob. Hello, Dev. What up, Tanton guys? Yo, yo, yo. What is up? What else we got? We got Sunil. Of course we got Sunil. I'm just here to leave two magic numbers, 66 and 96. And with what said, I'm off to the witness protection program.
Well, that's what he feels is going to be a medal record this year.
Medina, what is up, guys? Good to see you, Medina.
But the one thing that my takeaway from last night's the 9-game losing streak, it's unacceptable. Like you said, insert un, and that's just really what it's been. At least last night we got a chance to see the kids getting they actually kept them in for the whole game. They actually were in the lineup. I thought that was a big, that was a positive that I took away. They got called up and they were put right in. There was none of this. Let them sit for a game. Let them get acclimated. It was just let them just start going. Um, the other thing that I took away, Rodon was a lot better. I thought that he looked like the pitcher that we were hoping for the whole season, and I thought the defense was really, really fucking crisp. I thought that was a very clean played game. Wasn't a lot of miscues on the field. Everybody was positioned properly. Plays were made that had to be made behind Rodon. Unfortunately, the offense is still trying to find its rhythm, and I have a feeling that as these kids get a few more at bats, we're going to see that start to click as well.
It's amazing what having an actual outfielder in the outfield can do for you. What a concept, right? Like,
Imagine, right?
we were waiting for fucking 6 months or whatever it's been for an actual left fielder, and we get one, and he makes a really good play, good relay to Volpe, who makes the smart throw to second to get it out. Rodon was bailed out a couple of times yesterday, but overall was probably his best start, which is nice. That's one of the few storylines for the rest of the year that you're looking forward to is how does Rodon pitch down the stretch? How do the kids play? Volpe, how does Judge do the rest of the way? Can any of these veterans produce, maybe to give them a shot for being on the team next year or having boost their trade value? But it's just more of the same with this team. They can't score 2 runs. Like, the fact that we're struggling to score 2-3 runs a game is an issue. And this is Washington. I know they've been a little bit better lately, but this is still a bad team, and we can't even beat them. So it just goes back to the fact that we haven't been able to beat anybody since we beat up on the Royals, who are the second worst team in baseball to the Athletics. So where does that put us? And even when they called up the kids, for like 2 minutes, I was excited. And then I thought to myself, like, what the hell am I happy for? This should have been done 2 months ago. Maybe not Pereira because he had just been in AAA for over a month, but he should have been up at the start of August. Why didn't they do this sooner? Why are they waiting? Why do they keep waiting and waiting? Why are the Yankees so bad at assessing when it's time to make changes? Think about it. They cut Aaron Hicks, who we know he needed to be gone, but they cut him when he was actually playing well. He had his best week. He had his best like good 5 or 6 game stretch since last year, and that's when they cut him, when he was actually producing. And he took that momentum for a little bit into Baltimore. Now he's kind of regressed a little bit. He's hurt again, but they cut him when he was playing well instead of cutting him at the start of the year where they could have avoided it altogether. Then there's Greg Allen, who they replaced Aaron Hicks with, gets hurt, comes back, doesn't play, plays for 2 days, actually has a couple of good games, and that's when they cut him. Like, they're not cutting players when they need to be let go. They weren't using Greg Allen. Why not make the move then when he was just sitting on the bench and get Pereira here? Why did you wait so long? Why did you wait 2 days to put McKinney on the IL when you could have just done it right away and gotten Pereira here sooner, 2 days sooner? Could have got his feet wet a little bit earlier. Maybe we beat Boston one of those 3 games. Who knows? Why was Peraza waiting so long in the minors? Why isn't Florial still not have a spot on this team? Like, what are we, again, even though we finally did what we've been asking, they called up 2 of the prospects. I still can't help but be like, this is still an issue because they're waiting. They had to wait until the season. They had to finally admit that their season was over. They waited until they lost 8 straight, so they were 4 games under, and they had to finally say, we need a miracle. And that's when they're like, we should probably give these kids a chance. Instead of a month sooner, when there was still something to play for, you could have revamped the roster a little bit, still try to make a run this year and prepared for next year. Now all you have to do is just look forward to next year and see if Pereira and Peraza can be the guys moving forward, or if you're going to have to make a flurry of moves just to try to stay competitive in 2024. They waited too long. And yesterday you still saw this team needs a lot to save them. You can't be excited about the kids when you score 1 fucking run against the Nationals. And you finally get a good start out of your big money pitcher in Rodon, and you didn't help him. So as much as I want to be happy, and I am happy that these kids are finally here because they deserve it. Peraza deserves it. He's deserved it. Pereira definitely played his way into the discussion after a great month. Wells should be next. Florial should have already been here. I can't help but still be angry because this team continues to do things. Donald, you said you weren't even born in 1982. You were -2. I wasn't even a thought in 1982. I don't even know if my parents knew each other in 1982. That wasn't even a thought. Bobby Tats, he had seen it all in 1982, so he had gone through it. We're breaking records that haven't been done. This is why Yankee fans are so mad. It's not like they were bad for a few years and they were bad for decades, had a good couple of years, and then went bad again. No, we have been a winning team, whether it's winning championships, winning divisions, winning just having winning seasons in general for 30 years. This is the first time any of us have seen something like this in 3 decades. So yeah, we're spoiled, but we're fucking pissed because this team does not know why we're angry, and they haven't seen the issues that have been glaring for 5-6 years now, and they don't want to fix it. That's what we're angry about.
Yeah, nope.
No, they didn't know each other. See, my dad answered the question. They didn't know each other. See, there you go, Yankees.
Look, the one thing that I took away, and I was discussing it on Jason's post-game live stream, and thank God Jason's going to be home today, and we're glad that he's made his recovery and will be getting back to normal. His kids miss him, I'm sure, but and I know he misses his kids. But one of the things that he and I both agreed on is that was a very clean game played yesterday. The defensive alignment is what really won that game. It wasn't the pitching, it wasn't the offense. You know, we had the three outfield assists from each player. You know, the 3 outfield assists hasn't been done in, I think they said 21 years, and it was more than that, almost double that, since it was done by each outfielder. Also, the Washington shortstop Abrams, who they got in the Soto deal, he was a defensive wizard yesterday. There was nothing getting past him. It really was of this whole 9-game losing streak. Last night's loss was the least painful because of just how clean the game was played. It really was the matter of just a bounce of a ball. It wasn't that anybody was really making massive mistakes. They were making contact they were making such hard contact, the ball was staying in the air. They had a cut, unfortunately the wind kept a few balls that on a dry, hot day, those balls are going 400 feet and they were dying out on the track. It was just one of those, they were doing everything they could to put runs up. It's just, it just wasn't working in their favor, but it was a very clean game.
Even then, though, you should be able to accidentally score 2 runs against the Nationals. You should be able to scrape another one across the board. The fact that Rortvedt was the only one to get one, and he must have heard those Wells rumbles because now he's starting to hit. He knows that his time might be up already. But again, every other team in baseball has had a winning streak of like 7 games this year. And yeah, God, microwaving fish in the office. That's probably what he does. Probably does it in the clubhouse. Probably goes in there to give his team a chant, give a little hurrah speech, and he's microwaving fish in the background.
I just, Donald, what do you think?
I have to echo everything that Rob said. The most important point to go into would be the use of the prospects, because they had no plan. They had no plan for this year, and they had no plan for next year. They had no plan. And organizations that don't have a plan get found out. And the Yankees got what they deserved this year. They have, frankly. They left themselves far too open. They went into this year without a left fielder, which is incomprehensible. There's no excuse for that. I mean, look at the guys that Brian Cashman was trying to convince us was going to have a good year for the Yankees. He's asking 3 infielders, Jake Bauers, IKF, Oswaldo Cabrera, to play left field, and platoon with 2 DHs that can't catch the ball, and Willie Calhoun and Franchi Cordero, along with Aaron Hicks, who was a total mess, and it has been for about a couple of years, and got released. So that was his left field plan. Where is the logic to that? And where was the logic in trying to convince the fan base that Josh Donaldson was going to have this wonderful year? It's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing management. embarrassing delusion. They're either completely liars, or they're delusional, and either option is not good. Delusion is not good for a front office, and lying is really bad for a front office. And either way, it's a fireable offense. So the way this roster was constituted is an absolute disgrace, shameful, because they've had numerous opportunities to fix this. Numerous, if they just were held themselves accountable, but they refused to. So I'm sorry I don't lose an ounce of sleep over Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, whose feet are being held to the fire. They should have been held to the fire long ago. Long ago. Numerous jobs should have been lost over the last few years, because this has always been trending this way. Even last year, Aaron Judge's wonderful year covered up all the problems. But the year prior, the problems were still there, and they've never been fixed. They've never been looked at. Nothing's been looked at. This organization is lost. And the way that they handled the trade deadline, you almost might as well just packed it up and gone home. After they sat out the trade deadline, that told you everything about this front office. They didn't have a plan. Brian Cashman did not have a plan. That's why they didn't do anything at the trade deadline. He didn't have a plan. He wanted to continue to sell us the lie that this team was loaded and ready to go. It was all just around the corner. All total lie. And so by not planning for 2024, he's hurt 2024. And by not making any moves for 2023, he ended the season. So the fact that the prospects have been called up now is all well and good, but it should have been done right at the trade deadline after they failed to do anything. That was the point, right? In fact, it should have been done earlier than that, in fairness. But certainly, after they failed to do anything at the trade deadline, the very first move they should have done was to call up those two names. Because at least you're giving the fans some kind of a message that there is a plan. But there's never been a plan. There never was a plan. There never has been a plan. The only plan was to hope that Aaron Judge can keep them in their jobs. That's the truth. That's the truth. They completely relied on Aaron Judge to bail them out and keep them in their comfortable positions. When Aaron Judge got hurt, that ended that plan. And then they were without a plan. Their plan has not been championships. If their plan was championships, they would have built a roster that was actually a contending roster. Their plan was just to try and protect themselves. That's my opinion.
And what's going on, Jigga Man? How is everything going? And part of it is we were expecting, we came into the season expecting so much more. And yeah, it sucks to have to keep rehashing and getting aggravated about how the offseason was handled, but it's just as important then as it is right now. And they could have avoided a lot of this mess if they would have just given us a clear message. They didn't have to come out and go on public, TV or anything and lay out their entire plan and their thought process. If they would have just decided that they were going to use these kids, they were going to cut the dead weight in the offseason and just let these kids play for 1 year, on the major league level, and it would have silently told us, all right, they're resetting for the next couple of years. We would have been okay with that. Yeah, we do want to end this World Series drought. And first we have to have a roster that gets us there. But would anybody be complaining if we were in the situation, but they had actually laid out that, all right, we're going to let these kids come up. We're going to try to use some of the guys that in positions that are already crowded, and try to move those guys to bring in new players in the minor league system, so it's constantly being replenished. I think we could have been able to be like, all right, it's not going to be our year, but at least we'll be able to enjoy seeing these kids that we refuse to trade, because they hug these prospects so tightly. There's nothing left for them when they get to the major leagues.
Yeah, and that speaks to, again, all the issues we've been talking about. Having no plan is exactly the right way to put it. Donald is 100% spot on there, and Jigga, and hey, they're doing something. They're losing consistently. Hey, it's the first sign of consistency we've had. We're going for 10 tonight, so let's make it double digits. Why not? Why the fuck not? Let's go for 10. Let's go for 12. Go for 15.
Why not? Might as well break the record this year.
Yeah. At this point, we'd be lucky to win 75 games the way they're playing. Like, at first, it was just a month ago. It was, well, they can still sneak into the playoffs. There's always that chance that they make a little bit of a run. A couple of teams struggle. Now we're talking about, are we even going to get to 500? Because it's going to be the first time since 82 or whatever it was that we didn't finish – whatever year. I forgot what year it was the last time we finished below 500, but we're going to do that most likely. If we finish 500, I'd be shocked. Yeah. If we finish 500, I'd be shocked. So now we're struggling just to what's the win total? Because there's no shot we're making the playoffs. We know that's done. There's no shot we're finishing above 500 because you'd have to still win 20 plus games just to do that. And this team's struggling to beat Washington. They're struggling to score more than 3 runs. So goodbye to that. I'm saying there's no chance in it. There's only a chance that we're going to finish in last place. That's the only guarantee. We're finishing last place. And Hal Steinbrenner said back in, what was it, May, he's going to have to ask some tough questions. The first question he should ask is to himself. Ask himself, how the fuck did I let this happen? Because look at the White Sox. They just fired 2 people that have been there for a very long time. They had expectations this year. It wasn't maybe necessarily World Series expectations, but they expected to be a much better team. They got a new manager. They had a pretty good rotate. They had a really good rotation on paper. The bullpen, we know Hendricks was dealing with some stuff, but they still had good pieces all across the roster that should have been able to win that division, and it fell apart. It was an absolute disaster. They had to go through a sale. And yet they stay fired. Even the White Sox are like, we got to change it up here. We got to change it up. And the Yankees are like, yeah, we're about to have our worst season in 30 years, but we'll keep the guys around. And we know that Aaron Boone is going to be the first domino to fall here. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think he deserves to be fired unless Cashman is going to. Because what are we going to do? That's the thing I've been saying this whole time. Is do I think Aaron Boone needs to be here, deserves to be here? No. But do I think he necessarily deserves to lose his job while Cashman gets to stay on? No. Because any manager would fail with this kind of team that you've been given. And it's a clown show is what it is. Like, this is what you've been given. And we know that if Cashman's still here, the next manager is going to be Boone 2.0. So when Tats the other day, when you brought up Mark DeRosa, I'm like, that's another MLB Network analyst who's going to have to fall in line with what Brian Cashman says. It's like if anyone in the chat watches wrestling and you heard the fall in line term from Roman Reigns, he's the head of the table, the tribal chief. That's Brian Cashman. You got to fall in line and do what he says. That's it. And you got to put up the one. You got to acknowledge the tribal chief, Brian Cashman, because that's what the next manager is going to have to do. And that's why unless he's gone, or like what Li brought up last week, you put him in a different position where he doesn't control everything, where he doesn't necessarily have to get fired, but he's no longer part of the baseball operation. That's the only way we're going to get a new, fresh mind in the GM spot, a whole new system in the analytical department. It's not going anywhere. Analytics did not kill the team. The way they used it killed the team. Relying on 30 people headed by a moron named Fishman is what killed this team. There's a lot of issues with it, and unless the head of the table is cut off, this isn't going to change. So you're going to think, oh, Boone's gone. And I don't remember what show, it might have been something on WFAN or whatever, but someone said they might give you that, they might give the fans that little crumb, like, we'll give you Boone's head on a platter, but they're not going to give us Cashman. And so it's just going to be whoever replaces Boone, that's Boone 2.0. So again, unless you get rid of the actual problem, the manager is just going to be another puppet. And I hate saying it, but that's the truth. It needs to be a complete breakdown of the from top to bottom, needs to be broken down and rebuilt. And unless Hal Steinbrenner asks himself that first tough question, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
This comment might be for you.
What? Yeah, they need to be yeah. Super kick the fuck out of Brian Cashman and get him out of that spot. We need Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole to be the Usos or something. I hope there's some wrestling fans in here that maybe I know NFE apparently gets what I'm saying here, but they need to do something to get rid of the problem. And I don't think Cashman needs to be, sent into a trash can and floating down the river. He can go off in the sunset. I mean, even the Giants allowed Dave Gettleman to ride off into the sunset. So the Yankees can do that for Brian Cashman, but he does not need to be the general manager of this team. He has not deserved to be the general manager of this team for far too long. He's been in this spot. He needs to go.
It is all his philosophy. And remember, just look at all these press conferences that he does. All he does is talk about process. Our process is great. Our process is great. That basically means that he's shut up shop. He's not interested in what anyone says. He's not interested in what the rest of the league is doing. He's just comfortable in himself. He wants to keep everyone's jobs as they are, doing exactly what they're doing right now. And it's not working. It never was working. This process that he talks about is a process which has got them through the regular season and then they again completely fall apart in October. And it's been that way for years now. It's rinse and repeat. And now, well, that process has got them to one of the worst seasons in Yankee history. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Brian Cashman, the tribal chief, his philosophy is the reason why this team is where it is. Everything runs through Brian Cashman. The roster, the bullpen management, the in-game management, the conversations that Boone has with the media afterwards. Everything runs through him, Mike Fishman, Zillow, and it's like a little mafia. And that's what they need to break up. If they want this Yankees team to start getting themselves together, Brian Cashman has got to go. He has got to go. But, however, Aaron Boone is still tremendously bad at his job. Case in point, how about when the last ejection that he had, right, with the umpire, and the umpire came back and said, well, "Look at your record, Boone. What have you done here? You've done nothing here." The fact that a Major League Baseball umpire is looking at the Yankees record, Aaron Boone's record with the Yankees, and laughs at it, is every evidence that you need that Aaron Boone is a bad manager.
Yeah, and the delusion between Cashman and Boone, because I think they're just a tandem at this point. They're tied at the hip, but Boone goes to the front office and is asking about what the plan. What's the plan for next year, or what's the plan going forward? Like, somebody's head has to roll for that. So you cannot have the worst season that we've seen in decades and have the disillusion that your job is secure. That's fucking laughable. The White Sox, like we were saying earlier, and Mazda was texting me about it yesterday. These guys have had these positions for so long, it was time for a change. If every other organization can start to just say, all right, we need some fresh blood going forward, because we're going to be bringing in some of the youth. Let's bring in somebody that will actually understand their mindset. We're operating with dinosaurs of the game. The game is, we've been saying it, we'll say it, we'll keep saying it until something changes. The game is passed him by. Cashman cannot be a GM in today's baseball. It's not possible. You need to be able to use your youth. You need to be able to recognize when you need to lock them up long term and give them the right type of deal. Not giving Hicks 7 years. I mean, how fucking stupid was that? The money per year was fine, but 7 years, Sebby, if he didn't have the injuries, his 4-year deal would have been worth it. But why wasn't Judge locked up earlier? Why did you wait so long where you almost lost him? Why are you holding back these prospects to the point where they're not useful? He has no idea what he wants to do. They'd rather spend the money on the aging veterans and keep pushing his team further backward than start getting into the new age of baseball where it's all about youth.
Backward philosophy.
It is a backward. And I was the one who said that Brian Cashman was a tribal chief. Because if you've been watching the Bloodline story lately, the tribal chief is falling apart. The Bloodline's falling apart. because his two trusted guys, he's got one person left, or technically two. He's got Paul Heyman, but I'm not going to go into a whole wrestling spiel, but the bloodline is falling apart. The Yankees are falling apart. Brian Cashman likes to think of himself as the head of the table because everyone has to answer to him. That was the point I was trying to make. It wasn't Donald that called him the tribal chief. If you're going to come at somebody, you come at me for that one. I'm the one who brought up the wrestling reference, but I get what you're saying. He doesn't deserve it because he ain't shit. Like, he ain't Roman Reigns, but he likes to think he is. And he's the issue. We know that. And we've known that for years, that he's the issue. So at some point, until the Yankees make that change, until the Yankees realize he's the issue, we're going to be doing this again next year. We'll be here next August, sitting here like this. Whoa, 10 games in a row again, huh? Well, at least it hasn't been 30 years since that happened. So I would like to think that won't be the case, but what optimism should we have? Because we know they don't treat the prospects well. Like, every other team would have the plan. Like, the fact that we just started to have a plan, okay, Pereira's here. That means Dominguez gets called up to AAA, which means he's going to be in line to make the team next year like Volpe did if he has a really good spring. Austin Wells is on the radar. Okay, that means he's on the inside track to be the catcher next year. Why did you wait till August 22nd to have this plan in place? Why wasn't this plan in place immediately at the trade deadline or immediately at the All-Star break? Because the team was bad at the break. It wasn't like we were 10 games over 500 holding on to a playoff spot. We were bad at the All-Star break. That should have been when they had this kind of soft reset. They got the new hitting coach. Let him work with the kids. Peraza, Florial should have been here right after the break. You could have had Pereira play another couple of weeks in AAA, get him up once they felt he was ready. Austin Wells can come up in September so you can hold the third catcher. And there's a plan. Guess what? There's a plan. And there's also still 3 months of season where you can make a run. That's a plan. What they have done is just try to keep throwing shit out there and hope it doesn't stink. And guess what? It smells really bad. That's what their plan was. They haven't had a plan until August 21st. Are you kidding me? You're 4 games under 500. You're 9 games out. Now you're 5 games under. You're further out of the playoff spot. Your season's in the fucking dumps. And now you have a plan? Why wasn't this in place 2 months ago? And that's what we've been saying now since Aaron Judge got hurt. That would have been the perfect time to jumpstart the plan, because Florial should have been here right out of the get-go. Instead, let's give it to Billy McKinney. This whole thing is just so flawed from top to bottom. It's so broken. And we can't stop sounding like broken records because that's all we have right now. We can't talk about wins because we're not winning. We can't really talk about losses because the losses don't even look. It's like the loss yesterday was terrible, but like, who wants to talk about a loss? Not much happened in the game anyway. Pereira drew a walk. Yay. He had a nice outfield play. Okay, that's it. We're only going to talk about him and Volpe and Judge, really. Rodon looked better, but he should. He's getting paid $22 million. He needs to be better. Like, I'm not going to like jump through the roof because Carlos Rodon shut down the Nationals. Like, these are things that should be happening. But all we have to talk about as a fan base, and it's not just us, but it's everybody that does these shows. That's all we have to talk about, is just how fundamentally flawed this baseball team is. And people are going to call us spoiled and, oh, the Yankees fans overreact. We don't know any different. All we know is winning. So when you see a team start to just plummet off the face of the earth this badly, what do you want us to do? Oh, we deserve it. The Rays had to do it. The Red Sox had to do it. The Astros had to do it. It's our turn. No. We're the New York fucking Yankees. We should be able to push these prospects up, have a plan, and use our pockets to make this team as good as possible. Whether we win a championship every year or not doesn't matter. But the fact that we need to be in that conversation every single year, because that's all we've known for 3 fucking decades. And I'm supposed to be happy sitting here watching this team play like this? No, I'm not going to be happy. It's all we can do is complain because there's nothing else to do.
I can't even say that the Yankees even have a plan, even by calling these people up. I think it's just panic. I think they're like, oh, because they've exhausted everything else. They tried to run it back with journeymen and retreads. They tried Greg Allen and Jake Bowers and all these guys. They've tried everything. They've tried every journeyman under the sun. And now they've finally come to the realization, oh, maybe we should give our prospects a chance. I'm not even going to give them the credit that they're actually got a plan. Because If they had a plan, I think you would have seen movement months ago. Even if they weren't necessarily called up to the majors, you would see a strategy behind how they're developing these prospects. But that's not how we've seen it. That's not how we've seen it at all. We've not seen any plan for Peraza. None. Peraza was ignored, and Pereira has been fast-tracked to the majors. Right. Why did it take August 22nd for that to happen? The guy was batting 300, in the 900 OPS and the 550 slug in AAA. He should have been up weeks ago. Weeks. So the Yankees sacrificed their own season for a backward philosophy, which makes no sense to me. None. They've got a backwards philosophy. I don't know any other organization which would prefer journeymen than what they already have in AAA. Why would you do that? That makes no sense. That's not a winning organization. That's not a plan. They never had a plan. That's the point. They never had a plan, and it's been shown up, and it deserves to be shown up. And if we don't call them out for it, then the media needs to be calling them out for it, but they largely won't. So it's really up to us and Pete Simonetti and Hector and the guys to hold their feet to the fire, because they sold us a bag of lies. They had no plan. They never did.
But that's been the same thing that we've all been repeating on these shows, regardless of what YouTube channel you're watching. There was never a plan. When you plan for nothing, you win at nothing. You can't just have all this shit just fall into your lap because you feel entitled. It's like the millionaire that expects to hit the lottery every day, because they expect that money's just going to be endless. Well, I've got this far. I'm entitled to everything. It's like a spoiled little brat. Give me that, it's mine. Well, it's not your turn. You wasted your opportunity. Cashman wasted his opportunity, and Hal too. He's not exhausted from any of the blame. Right? He is at the head of the table. They have just squandered all the progress that the 2016-2017 tread of the Bronx, the baby bombers, they ruined every ounce of it. Yeah, horribly run organization. You're right, Warren. They can't just keep rinsing, this rinse and repeat bullshit with the retreads. That's not going to get you anywhere. It's only just going to have you keep falling backwards. And then we got to come on here, try to make heads or tails of your stupidity, which is not an easy task, and still try to feel like there's some type of upside on the way. But there's not. Not as long as Brian Cashman is running the show. As long as Cashman is sitting in that GM spot, this is what we're going to be seeing for years to come.
And it makes things worse when we point out and have been pointing out the flaws with this team for years. Pete's been doing this longer than us. He's been pointing it out for years. Everybody, whether it's on a show or it's just on Twitter or the Elon app, whatever, they've been pointing out the flaws for years, and we're the ones who get called stupid. We're the ones who get attacked by the writers, by the GM, by the assistant GM, or by the analytical people. We're the ones who get called stupid. Like Lindsay Adler just put out something yesterday that said, the more the Yankees try to please the fans, the worse things get, or something along those lines. It's like, we didn't expect you to get every single player that was available, but we wanted you to get at least Manny Machado. I can understand not getting Bryce Harper. Look, I get it. Everyone wanted him. He would have been a perfect Yankee. But at the time, we did have a good outfield. Machado was a need, and they didn't get that. So how is that like, you're trying to please the fans by getting Manny Machado? We're asking too much to get one of the best infielders in the entire fucking sport. That's too much to ask. A team with payroll that goes through the roof, a team with pockets that are deep as the goddamn depths of hell. You can't go sign Manny Machado because you want Neil Walker or whatever, or you had DJ LeMahieu. Like, that's the only thing that kept you from getting Machado. So there's so many issues here. And when we point these things out, things that the Yankees should be doing, and Why didn't you get Garrett Cole 2 years earlier? You could have had this player. You could have had that player. It's not even things like that. It's just the way that this roster is constructed. You didn't want to pay for Machado, but you were more than willing to take Josh Donaldson, and the Yankees knew he had problems. I don't know if that was just mentioned in the chat earlier from, I think it was LI. He mentioned something from Jeff Passan, but somebody on, I think it might have been Jeff, put out a report that the Yankees knew that there was some toxic. Yeah, there was some. That wasn't it, but Jeff did say was like they knew there was something up with the Twins and Donaldson, and they willingly took him on all $50 million. We're supposed to be okay with that? We're the dumb ones? We're the stupid ones? You took on Josh Donaldson's contract when he was 36, and guess where he is right now? Taking infield ground balls at second base while on the 60-day IL. That's how much you rely on your $25 million third baseman, and we're the crazy ones to think that he can't have a bounce back year. No, it's us. We're the problem. It's the roof in the Astro Stadium. It's the wind out there in Houston. Oh, it was the fact that the launch angle of Judge's fly ball, it needed to be about 2 inches higher. It would have cleared the wall. Or it's the fans for expecting too much. Those are the issues. It has nothing to do with the way you've constructed this team. Nothing to do with the fact that you took a serious World Series window and shattered it. You shattered it so quickly. And yeah, we had a 100-win season in 2018 and 2019. Yeah, we went to the ALCS in 19 and 22. Yeah, we were a win short of 100 last year. But as Donald mentioned, as Brian Hoke has mentioned, they were dragged there by Aaron Judge last year. Because if Judge does not go on that tear, because remember when we had to bat him leadoff, how many times have we brought that up on the show? They had to bat him leadoff because they couldn't generate offense anywhere else in the lineup. So they were collapsing. Judge dragged them over the finish line, got them there, and then they struggled to beat Cleveland, got swept by the Astros. And here we are again. We're about to finish under 500 for the first time in 20, 30 years. And I'm going to be okay with it, though. I'm the dumb one. I'm the stupid one. No, it's me. I'm going to ride the short bus now because I don't understand baseball. Thank you, Brian Cashman. You've made me feel stupid.
No, and what makes it even worse is after the season that Judge had, that asshole was still trying to nickel and dime the guy. How did he call from Italy to get the deal done? Because he knew that Cashman was going to fuck it up. And he knew that there was serious offers coming from other teams. So Hal's like, wait a minute. He goes, you know what? Before you completely fuck up my franchise, he had to step in. Right there should have been a signal to Hal that Cashman's time was up. And he's ignored every red flag on Cashman since day fucking one. Donald, do you have a thought?
I'm just disgusted by everything. It's just like I've never felt more lost as a fan. Like the organization spends more time deflecting and blaming its fans than just looking at themselves. All this could easily have been fixed. Could have easily been fixed last year. Could have even been fixed in the offseason. They're not interested in doing it. That's what I'm saying. They're more interested in protecting themselves and their jobs than actually looking at making themselves a good team. And the idea that Lindsay Adler came up there, that the harder the Yankees try to make their fans happy, it's the bigger their problems are. That's false. As Rob says, it's completely false. They've done the opposite of what the fans have wanted, basically, for years now. They've been doing the precise opposite. The fans didn't want Cashman extended. They extended him. They extended him twice. The fans didn't want Aaron Boone. Not only did they hire him, they extended him for no reason. The fans didn't want Josh Donaldson for love nor money. They didn't want Josh Donaldson. And they traded for him and took on $50 million and ruined their season and the season after because of it. The fans didn't want Aaron Hicks here this year. He didn't even want him there last year. So the fact that the idea that the fans are somehow to blame for this is nonsense. It's complete nonsense. The fans have been wanting a plan for their prospects for years, and they've refused. They're looking at Greg Allen and Jake Bowers and Willie Calhoun instead of looking at their prospects. So the idea that they're doing anything for their fans is a complete lie. Also, the fans wanted Aaron Judge signed in the off season prior, not 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 when it took Hal Steinbrenner to call in the middle of the night in Italy just before he signed for the Giants. They wanted him signed before Brian Cashman pissed him off. So the idea that they're doing anything for the fans is false.
And I think it's so important that what Fortrain mentioned earlier, because he had stronger offers from the Giants and Padres, and he wanted to be a Yankee. Judge wanted to stay here. So the fact that, just give me put that extra year and we got a deal. He could have signed for I don't know how much more the Padres offered him, but it was like another $100 million, I think. It was a crazy offer they were willing to give Judge. He wanted to be here. And the fact that after they signed him, they said, we aren't done, and didn't do anything but add another pitcher and not build a better team around the guy that wanted to stay here, your franchise, your captain. He's one of the faces of the sport, and he's certainly the face of this team. He's the best player this team has been able to produce since Derek Jeter. He's the closest thing we've had to Derek Jeter. And this is what you put together from him. He had to literally run through a wall for this team to keep winning games. And you saw how quickly the team fell apart as fast as that wall did once he got hurt. Once he was gone, this team doesn't know how to function. And you have failed him. You have failed Garrett Cole, who's just carrying this entire pitching staff on his shoulders to a point where he's probably not going to win Cy Young now because he had one bad start. And a couple other guys are catching up to him. But he's been having a Cy Young season, and you are wasting that. You have wasted the prime of Aaron Judge. You're wasting the prime of Garrett Cole. You've wasted several prospects from being really good players for you for years to come, and you've had to get rid of them for nothing. You had to take on Josh Donaldson just to get rid of a guy that should have been your catcher of the future for a very long time, or at least a DH. Whatever, but you screwed him up. You screwed up Torres for a couple of years. You screw with other players. It's just, these are things that we've mentioned so many times, but the fact that they didn't build more around Aaron Judge after he told you he wants to be here, that's a crime. That's a really big issue, and you almost lost him. You were, and Brian Cashman was willingly going to let him go. He's like, well, I don't know what I can do, and that should tell you right then. That got him a 4-year extension, not another year. He was operating under a handshake deal. Give him one more year, right? Okay, we understand there were injuries last year. It was a good team, but they got hurt. All right, we heard that excuse before. Give him one more season. And if this year goes bad, you're done. But no, he got 4. He almost let his best player walk, and it got him 4 years. If I was that bad at my job, I would have been put in prison probably for 4 years, not given a 4-year extension. Are we serious here? Does Hal Steinbrenner deserve all of the blame for this? No, but does he deserve to get a lot of heat for it? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, he said Cashman's the guy. 4 more years of it. It's like when you elect a bad president. 4 more years. 4 more years. Here we go. Brian, we all say he should be a politician because the way he speaks out of his ass is perfect for Washington. Well, I think he's a perfect presidential candidate because the guy talks through his ass, never tells you what you want to hear, and he's got some people that follow him blindly. Sounds a lot like a presidential candidate. He should be running for office in Washington. He should not be in the Yankees GM office. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's. I want to get to this comment here, and I want to welcome Blue Gold into the chat. And I know we have a few new voices in here, and we will give you guys your due. But Blue Gold, I've known him. We've interacted on Hector's channel, and thank you for coming over to us. Judge and Cole are both on the other side of 30, and it's all downhill now. I do not agree with that at all. I really don't. I think that this is. They still have a few years before that decline really kicks in, where maybe you miss the window. But I don't think it's downhill from here. I still think we still have a few years before you start to see any type of, you know, decline. What do you guys think about, with their ages, the all the bullshit talk with Cole's opt out? It's all noise to me. I want to know what you guys think.
Well, I would say that he might be onto something though. That because look at the rest of the roster, it's an inflexible roster. It's an aging roster. It's overly right-handed. It's unathletic, and it's completely reliant on Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole. The rest of the rotation, injury prone. So there's not really very many young arms coming through that you're going to be like, oh, this guy is going to be the next big thing. So you can look at this entire roster and say that it's inflexible. And how are they going to build a championship caliber team around Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge over the next two years? Because those are the best years you're going to get out of them. These next 2 years, if you're going to get them at all. And I can't see how they're going to do it. Because unless they get a new general manager, but the new general manager is going to tear the whole thing apart. And rightfully so. It's going to take years. I don't think they've got a roster capable of supporting Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole right now. I don't see it. It's going to take a master stroke from a general manager. And Brian Cashman's not done any master strokes in 6 years. So I don't see it.
We're at a loss of words. We can't really say much else, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, all right, mic drop. There we go. That's about it. Now, last night was that, to kind of bring it back to the now, especially, you're watching that outing from, oh God, the LI. What do you got to say now? I'm on the Evan Roberts trip. No, knock that off. Cut it out.
You were doing so well, Li. Like we were giving you credit for the last 2 weeks.
Really, yeah.
You were talking some wrestling there. You were like, I was saying you were right about DJ and Stanton about this whole season in general, and then you go and say that. Like, Li, you were doing so well. You don't trade Garrett Cole. Never in a million years.
But you're wasting him.
He's not the only one that agrees with Roberts. But you all heard me yelling about that. But no, it's with Sevy on the mound tonight. Last night, that made so much more of a game that we had to scratch off that run, and we had everything in place to take that game. That game was set up for such a fucking moment for these kids. When you're looking at the bottom of the ninth, when you have Volpe and Pereira up in the same inning, you're like, all right, here we go. This is so set up. It's not even funny. And look, I am not blaming the kids, but didn't you just have that little bit of a feeling like, holy shit, this could actually happen? This could be that spark that ends the streak. Wouldn't it be, after holding back on these kids for so long, they're going to come up, they're going to win you the game and walk off, and I would have looked towards the owner's box and flipped them all off. And saying, that's what you get for holding me back. I wanted that so bad.
And I don't want to see, I know this hasn't happened, but I don't want to see any overreaction if, Pereira and Peraza have bad weeks or something like that, because
it was their first game. What the odds are to have a hit in your first major league game?
Right, and just Peraza in general has been mishandled so much. Like the fact that he hasn't been here all season. And I bring up Florial a lot because he's had literally 55 at bats over 3 years. Franchi Cordero has more at bats than him this season than Florial has in his career. So that tells you everything you need to know about how they mishandle prospects. Florial was one of your top guys. You didn't trade him because you held him as untouchable, and you didn't use him. You gave up on him, despite the fact that he's having an outstanding year. And numbers-wise, he was actually better than Pereira this year in AAA for a lot longer. They both have high strikeout percentages, yet Pereira was called up. He's given the job, and I think he deserves it. But what has Florial done wrong to not deserve at least a shot? Like, this is a great time now. Call him if you call him up today, because you could fucking DFA Franchi Cordero. I don't know why he's still on this roster, but he is. DFA Franchi Cordero, get Florial here. You can kick somebody to the curb. I don't know who. And let Florial play center field every day. Bader doesn't need to be playing every day. Or you can put Florial in right and have Judge DH, because Stanton doesn't need to be playing every day because he's not doing anything. And you can let Florial finally play for a whole month. He's got a whole month. And if he performs slightly well, guess what? If Pereira plays well, you've got center field and left field figured out next season, or at the very least, Florial can be your fourth outfielder like Greg Allen was for you this year, and you actually have a legitimate backup outfielder in case Dominguez has an outstanding spring. And that's a good problem to have. It's like, shit, now what do we do? Because if Florial plays well for a month, guess what? Teams are going to come calling, hey, we know you got Dominguez, and we know you got Spencer Jones coming up through the pipeline. What do you want for Florial? We can get something for him now because he's going to be a minor league free agent. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but how can you know unless you give it a shot? What more does he have to prove in the minors? Nothing. There's nothing more to prove in AAA. He can't do anything better than what he's been doing. He's got 20-plus home runs, 900 OPS, hitting near 300. His on base is good. He just strikes out a bunch. Okay, that's the game now. That's the game the Yankees play. It's like if you strike out, that's how they teach the minor leaguers. A strikeout doesn't cost you a point in their games they play in the minor league. So how is that keeping him from being on the roster right now? It's so – no, I don't want Jordan Montgomery back. No, I still stand by that trade was a good one because we don't win that series against Cleveland without Harrison Bader.
No, but now that he's a free agent, it's something worth looking into.
But what would our record be with Jordan Montgomery this year? We would have lost every start that he made 2-1 or 3-2. It wouldn't have mattered.
I mean, no, it wouldn't have moved the needle at all for this season. But if you can actually, Blue Gold and I do not agree on a lot. But this one, I think it's worth looking into. I'm not saying, oh my God, he's going to be a free agent. This is your priority. But for the right deal, why wouldn't you bring him back? Let him take
I thought you meant regretting the trade. I'm sorry.
No. You're saying, do we want him back now or what? Because this offseason, he's at the end of this year, he's a free agent.
You might kick the tire. I still think the best course is to trade Glaber to Miami for one of those guys that they wanted. Yeah. Cabrera or Garrett. Get a young, controllable arm. Throws hard. Cabrera throws like 97. I'd say go do that. Yeah, no, Blue. I didn't. I got torn apart because I did not like the trade either. I'm like, here you are, you have an injury-ridden team and you're trading for a guy that was already injured. It just didn't make sense. But you have to admit, Blue Gold, like Rob just pointed out, his postseason play is the only reason that we made it to play, even had a chance to show up for the Astros to kick the shit out of us. If it wasn't for him, that would have never happened. So I actually that's what won me over on Bader. I think he's bought in to ending, to being a guy that can get us to that championship.
I think the problem is Bader's a complementary piece, and we needed a real difference maker. And
he's not
that's the problem.
He's just going to be that guy that helps them along.
If they had brought in actual difference makers and then Bader comes in to help augment defense in center field and add that energy and that punch that he's brought, then great. But the problem is the Yankees roster is barren without Aaron Judge, so Bader's barely moved the needle. I think that's what it is. I think Bader would have been a really good player if we actually had a good roster, but we don't have a good roster, so Bader's lost.
In his defense, like Lynn's pointing out in the chat, his defense is something that's been lacking. I've not had that kind of defensive outfielder in a while. So, but this is going to wrap things up for us today. I will be off on Friday. I am actually going to Cooperstown, so I'll be trying to post some videos from there. That'll be a lot of fun. But Robert, that'll be with you on Friday, 10 a.m. as always. So if you have not, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, Share it to your family, friends, neighbors, stranger on the corner. Right? And as always, wear your pinstripes with pride and play on.